It was horrible.
That's why I got.
You have anything sweet to eat?
I don't know, huh? I have this cranberry juice. This is all my mother is buying me grocery. These all she does to buy. Apparently being healthy.
I don't
So
like
these all I
cranberry
have. I
juice.
know, but that's how to drink it. That's all I have. What fun.
I'm feeling for something sweet to eat. I have hypoglycemia also.
You like you some kind
No,
of
it's
disease.
not a disease, and I didn't get it at UE.
So it is.
So wait, you don't know what hypoglycemia is? Where you study in UE?
Biochem. What is biochem?
It's a disease. It's a health problem. Of course. Well, it's like when my blood glucose levels drop too low, I need something sweet to eat. So it's like sometimes I start to sweat and I get anxiety and I have headaches and it's just a whole long list of stuff that has happened. So I always have to have something sweet. So in case it drops, I'll raise it up.
So it has to go to the doctor.
Well, it's not to the point where I have to go to the doctor all the time, but basically I must always have something sweet to eat in case. So I wouldn't go into that, go and exhibit them kind of stuff, yeah. But all I have though is this stupid Oreo that I like 2 days ago and I don't want it anymore, so I was going to go by the mini mart there and see if I
We try to get something sweet, something
it's
sugary.
something sweet, yeah.
Well, I know somebody, but it's a kind of a real undercover thing. It's like 100% sugar, but
I could get high from it.
well, it's 100% sugar, so probably. But they don't sell them thing in Trinidad. And thing is like a real undercover thing. Like you have to know she to actually get it. So
See if you could hook me up now. I
will. But tomorrow something like because I have to go home.
Is it for
I will really get it, but like tomorrow something because I have real assignments. So I have to go to my biochem lab. I have some stuff to do. So
oh god, don't even talk about biochem because I haven't started that lab yet.
I know
But
I have real
please,
things to do.
I really want it. Like I really need it.
I know, but I'll get it tomorrow.
I will die.
You're not going to die.
I will die.
You're not going to die.
Yes, I will die. Please.
Well, I'll call Shane. I'm gonna call Shane here. She's busy. I don't really have money. I'm a fool.
You would never have money.
No.
Yeah.
So, let me just see what she is. Yeah, hello. This is Emily here. You have anything? Yeah, well, one of my friends, she has this disease.
It is not a disease.
Yeah.
Hypoglycemia.
So I just wanted to know if I could get some fishy. But you go organize the money. Yeah, we go organize tomorrow.
Alright, no problem.
Alright, well tomorrow, same time. Alright. Well, tomorrow after class, we'll organize and I'll go
everything
get.
on?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah. You want this, by the way?
No.
Hypoglycemia. What is it? A person with systematically low levels of blood glucose sugar, usually less than 70 mg/dl to 100 mg/dl, has hypoglycemia. Glucose is the body's main energy source. Hypoglycemia is not a disease in itself, but usually an underlying issue. Causes of hypoglycemia. It commonly happens when a person with diabetes has taken too much insulin, exercise without proper food intake, skipping meals, lack of glucagon, a hormone that is secreted from the pancreas that raises blood glucose levels, excessive alcohol consumption. Alcohol can block the liver from releasing stored glucose. What happens when the blood glucose drops low? Hormones are released that act on the liver to release stored glucose, produce new glucose, and produce ketones.
Symptoms of hypoglycemia occur when blood glucose levels drop to between 3 and 4 millimoles per liter. They include feeling hungry, sweating, dizziness, blurred vision, irritability, and confusion, among many others. If hypoglycemia is not treated promptly and blood glucose levels drop low enough, you may become drowsy or even lose consciousness. Most people with insulin-treated diabetes notice the symptoms of hypoglycemia change and become less obvious the longer they live with the condition. Nocturnal hypoglycemia. It is more common in people who treat diabetes with insulin. Although some people find their sleep is disturbed when they experience nocturnal hypoglycemia, you'll often only notice the symptoms when you wake up in the morning. The symptoms can include headache and damp sheets caused by sweating. If your blood sugar continues to drop, your behavior may change. Symptoms may include inability to concentrate, confusion and irritability, slurred speech, muscle twitching, and personality changes. Severe symptoms of low blood sugar include seizure, loss of consciousness, stroke, or even death.
You sure this is where we're supposed to meet?
Somewhere right here, she said, I don't know. That's what she said.
Okay then. You do your biogram lab already?
I do that.
Me neither.
You want some?
No thanks, I don't want anything.
She should be here. I told her. Right.
Hey girl.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm looking one.
Yeah, you remember how much I tell you first?
Yeah.
Yeah,
organized?
I have it, yeah. What is exactly you have?
So there's a special formula where my sister is a doctor, so she tell me about all the different things we need to put in for people who sick like you. So it doesn't contain high amounts of sugar like the other candy that they normally sell you. So this has a special formula with a certain amount of sugar content, so too much sugar doesn't go into your bloodstream at once. So this one is like just enough to make you feel better.
Stop. You're meditating. You're meditating. Meditating.
Just hand it over, Kyle.
Meditating. Where do you rest of it?
Well, that's all I have is the order I get, and that's what I bring.
So you don't know more home?
No, well, as I get an order, I'm making it, and I just bring in what I have. I don't have no more stash anyway.
What? Somebody call the ambulance.
Glucose is the main energy source for the brain and is obtained from carbohydrates when they are broken down. Glucose is absorbed in the bloodstream where it is transported throughout the body. Glucose that has not been used is stored in the liver as glycogen. Upon having a meal, the complex food is broken down. Hence, a great amount of glucose enters the bloodstream. In order to balance this high level of glucose, the hormone insulin comes into play. The pancreas is responsible for signaling the release of insulin. The role of insulin is to assist body cells in taking up glucose from the bloodstream. So insulin causes the concentration of glucose levels to be decreased. Therefore, if too much is secreted, too much glucose leaves the blood. This causes blood sugar to be lower than it should be. Now, the body has little energy due to the fact that limited amounts of glucose is present. So here we have the body deprived of energy. It therefore needs to find some alternative energy in order to function. As a result, muscle protein and fats are broken down. The person needs to have a meal or snack to bring the glucose level to normal. So, you may be thinking that the fastest energy source is something that contains a lot of sugar. This is not the case due to the fact that a high concentration of glucose would now be entering the bloodstream all at once. The pancreas becomes overwhelmed, hence too much insulin is secreted, and the blood sugar levels go even lower. This is why having complex carbohydrates in such a situation is ideal. Complex carbohydrates deliver glucose at an optimum rate, causing insulin production to occur at a steady rate.
So, Jessica, I know you have hypoglycemia, and that is so bad. So, you can tell me what caused that today? What caused your episode?
Well, actually, I was doing my biochem lab for a couple of hours and I didn't get a chance to eat anything.
Oh, so how long?
Probably about 3 to 4.
So that meant your blood glucose level went really low today.
Yes.
And that's not a good thing.
Actually, I was going to eat sugar candy.
No. That influx of sugar is too much for you. It's for your condition. And if you continue eating too much sugar at one point in time when you start having symptoms that could even cause it to go into a coma. So you shouldn't do that. So next time, what you should do, if you know you can't eat for like say a long period of time, 4 to 6 hours, you should have some complex carbs like a sandwich or something that will sustain you for a long period of time. But if when you're probably at school or doing your studies or anything like that, and you start to experience symptoms, you should have like not candy, sorry, you should have like raisins or fruits or something on hand or something simple that would sustain you and help maintain the sugar throughout that period of time when you wouldn't be able to eat much. So next time you know, right? Okay.
When treating hypoglycemia, one should first determine their blood glucose level. If glucose level is not too low but symptoms are present, the treatment administered should not elevate the blood glucose levels further. Treatment: consume 15 to 20 grams of glucose or simple carbohydrates. Recheck your blood glucose after 15 minutes. If hypoglycemia continues, repeat. 15 grams of simple carbohydrates commonly used to treat hypoglycemia include glucose tablets, raisins, or any of the other items listed. Why using candies, chocolates, and ice creams are not good treatment choices. Although it may sound like a good idea to treat hypoglycemia with dietary treats, sugar in the form of complex carbohydrates or sugar combined with fat or protein are much too slowly absorbed to be useful for the acute treatment of hypoglycemia. Also, these items contain fat, which slows down the rate of glucose release into the blood and will not allow for rapid rise in blood glucose levels. Once the acute episode has been treated, a long-acting carbohydrate to maintain blood sugars in the appropriate range should be consumed. Using glucagon to treat hypoglycemia. Glucagon is a polypeptide hormone secreted by the alpha cells of the pancreatic islets. It stimulates the liver to release stored glucose into your bloodstream when your blood glucose levels are too low. Glucagon increases glyconeolysis, gluconeogenesis, lipolysis, ketogenesis, and uptake of amino acid. How to prevent hypoglycemia? Eat on time. Eat enough carbs that correlates with the amount of medication being taken. Take medication on time. Be prepared. Carry some form of carbs with you all the time. Mechanism to prevent or correct hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is a medical emergency because the central nervous system has an absolute requirement for the continuous supply of blood-borne glucose to serve as fuel for energy metabolism. The body has multiple overlapping mechanisms to prevent or correct hypoglycemia. The most important hormone changes in combating hypoglycemia elevated glucagon and epinephrine, combined with the diminished release of insulin. Glucoregulatory systems. Humans have two overlapping glucose regulating systems that are activated by hypoglycemia. One, the islet of Langerhans. Two, receptors in the hypothalamus which respond to abnormally low concentration of blood glucose. Glucagon and epinephrine. Hypoglycemia is combated by decreased release of insulin and increased secretion of glucagon, epinephrine, cortisol, and growth hormone. Glucagon and epinephrine are most important in the acute short-term regulation of blood glucose levels. Glucagon stimulates hepatic gluconeolysis and gluconeogenesis. Epinephrine promotes glycogenolysis, lipolysis, inhibits insulin secretion, and inhibits insulin-mediated uptake of glucose by peripheral tissue. Epinephrine is not normally essential in combating hypoglycemia, but it can assume a critical role when glucagon secretion is deficient. The prevention or correction of hypoglycemia fails when the secretion of both glucagon and epinephrine is deficient. Blood glucose levels are monitored by glucose sensing neurons in the autonomic nervous system, which is also involved in pancreatic and adrenal secretions. When blood sugar levels fall, the nervous system responds by signaling the adrenals to release epinephrine or adrenaline, growth hormone, and cortisol, while lowering the pancreatic secretions of insulin. The nervous system is closely tied in with the system that secretes these chemicals. If the nervous system is compromised by spinal disc damage, then these secretions may well be out of balance. Cortisol and the growth hormone. These hormones are less important in the short-term maintenance of blood glucose concentrations. They do, however, play a role in the long-term management of glucose metabolism.
Tasty.